Okay. That's in April. Wow. That works now.
No free approvals.
All right, so for those that are online currently, just to let you know, we're getting ready to start our work session. And the official meeting will begin at 5:30. So just letting you know. Thank you. Since all of us are here and it's close enough to 5, let's begin our work session. First one is public hearing 32 West Cedar Avenue window replacement. Any comments from the board members?
Go ahead, Dave.
I had the same comments I had last time we looked at this. Just wondering if by doing the two-part half round over the slider, you lose that strong vertical median rail in the middle of the windows, and wondering if they would consider casement style windows versus sliders. And maybe continue that thicker mullion profile in the round upper, just to mimic better the existing style.
And I had the same questions I had last time about whether or not the new arched window will exactly fit into the existing opening, or whether the opening size and shape will need to be modified. And also whether there will be a space below the new window where a wall infill will be required. And if so, what would be the material and style of the infill?
Oh, you're right. Yeah, I'm seeing that those two diagrams are shorter in height than the.
Okay. Any additional comments? Moving on to the next project, 135 North Bompard Avenue, rear addition and side addition. Comments from board members, please.
Yeah, I'd like a little more information on the railing material and style. And then also, I'd be interested in discussing the rationale behind using the brick on the front of the new addition. Because I think when you look at that from the corner, it may have a bit of an odd appearance to have those sort of brick walls just applied to the front of the siding. And also, it's just, as far as preservation practice, it's important to clearly differentiate by some manner the addition from the historic home. So I think that showing the entire addition as siding would clarify that. And then I was also interested in the selection of the vertical siding, which is really very different than everything else in the surrounding area.
I also had that same comment and had a couple others. One being there's nothing calling out trim around the windows. I'm not sure if we're just seeing a really small profile of trim. So I wanted to address that, and then looking at there's some brick columns on the side, and I just thought that the proportion of those in comparison to the height, because they are pretty tall.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, if there's something, either we make the columns a little bit beefier or provide some kind of detail at the base or provide a capital, or if this does become siding, maybe those are boxed columns instead of brick.
And maybe if they engage the stoop and the stairs somehow to raise the bottom of that brick up higher so that
Well, that
they're
could be an
less,
option
less,
too, yeah.
less slender.
Mhm. All right. Ken, any comments?
No, are you saying what?
Or proportionally shorter somehow, like maybe raise the bottom. So there's very slender for a brick column of that height.
Mhm.
Yeah, that could also help with it for sure.
Yeah, I think that's a really good comment on the brick columns. Seems like raising the base up would be the simplest.
Yes. See, like a 2.5 bricks.
Mhm.
I didn't quite get your own comment about brick and siding.
Okay, well, if you look at the floor plan, you can see that where the addition is. And on the front elevation of the new addition, there's brick veneer just applied to the front. It doesn't wrap the sides or anything. And then when you look at the new addition from the side, it's the vertical siding.
Yeah.
So I think when you look at the corner of that, it would have a strange appearance, and it also sort of muddies the distinction between the new addition and the historic home.
Your mind be just do the whole addition.
Yes, that was my comment.
I mean, I think that's a great comment too, because I agree with you, Carol. Help just set it aside as its own addition. The one thing I was gonna add was the north elevation head height of the doors
Mm.
and just looking at the window heights on both sides. And I just had a question or a comment about, unless I'm missing something there.
I picked up on that too, but I think they might be matching the head height of the existing windows.
All right.
Are you talking about that?
Well, when I'm looking at the
Oh,
north,
this door.
the new doors
Mhm.
on A7. And then if you look at the proposed south and maybe these aren't
Maybe there's a-
labeled right.
Interior stair.
Um,
Yeah, it looks like you go up some stairs in the interior.
right. I think it was I'm gonna look at this again. So the east elevation has a window head height that's equal to the existing house on the first floor. And then what's labeled as the north elevation is showing new doors with that head height much lower. It maybe not, maybe it's not, something's out of, I might not be reading this right.
Hmm.
It looks taller to me. The space between the railing and the head height of the door on the east versus the head height of the door and the railing on the north looks
Mhm.
significantly different. I'm not sure why that is.
Hmm.
And then when I looked on the south side, it looked like the windows on the first floor were aligned, so something is off on that elevation. I'm not reading it right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, would be it's almost like an access door, not a full height door.
Yeah. So I just wanted to chat about that. Sure I understood it. And I guess programmatically, whatever's behind there, you could consider like a transom or something to tie the head height together, is my thought. This is the question. All right. Moving on, 424 Park Road, there's a rear deck. Any comments from the board?
That this is okay as submitted.
Same.
Same.
I was fine with it. Usually the building department's called, but if they switched the stairs instead of had two, what was it? If they went to three risers and 3 risers instead of 2 and 4, they could avoid, I think, a handrail, but that's the building department, not us. There may be a reason they did what they did too, so. But I'll approve this submitted.
All right, I don't have any comments on that one. Last one, that's a public hearing for the work session is 28 Elm Place. Side edition. And I think that's Tracy's, so.
Bye, Tracy.
I was approved as submitted, just for clarification, I'm assuming it's a compatible siding, they're matching what's on there. The house
That's
looks like
stucco.
it's shake.
The new addition is proposed to be stucco.
Okay. I looked for that, I didn't see that.
I believe it's in the
I thought
notes.
they forgot to rent it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I would think that the stucco isn't very compatible with this, with the shake. Unless there's a precedent historically that I don't know about.
I think there's more of a coloration argument than anything else, but now they know what it is, I'm okay.
Yeah, I had a few questions. It looks like perhaps the existing front porch handrail is being replaced. And I wanted to know what the proposed materials and style were. And then also just some material clarification, like what's on the eaves of the new addition? How will the exposed foundation of the new addition be treated? And then also the texture of the stucco, I think, becomes important because when you go down that little cul-de-sac, all of the houses in that historic little area there, they all have a very heavy textured finish. They're shingle, they're a real deep kind of beefy lap siding. So I think an ultra smooth stucco finish might be not really compatible with the area. So I kind of question, the choice of the stucco, but I think if it had a bit more texture to it, it might fit in the neighborhood a little bit better. So I wanted to talk about that a bit. And then, I mean, it's really good to differentiate the new addition from the existing house. That's great. That the fenestration is really nicely balanced. There's a lot of it. That all looks really, really good. It's just on the back, at the second floor, the faces of the exterior walls are aligned. And I'm kind of wondering if that's going to be somewhat awkward looking transition between the shingle and the stucco, if those abut. And I was wondering if there was a way to maybe modify the depth of the new addition by a few inches either way, just to make that transition a little more graceful. Like maybe if you just pulled it in a few inches or something, then you wouldn't have that abutted alignment.
Mhm.
And then also as far as kind of, common elements that would tie the two together, I was wondering if there was any proposed enclosure under the new front porch of the addition. Because right now it's kind of shown as entirely open under there, where the existing structure, it's not enclosed under the side of the stairs, which is fine, but the porch itself, there is an enclosure under there So I was wondering if there was any thought given to the treatment of that front porch on the new addition.
I like Carol, appreciate the window sizing in relation to the existing, but wondering what the intent is or for the casements on the front elevation versus the double hungs on the side of the new addition. Or wait, what's that existing? Yeah, the new addition has double hungs on the side or a single hung. Just wondering if there's a reason for the changing of the windows to casements.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, the material question is, I was okay with the stucco. I think the texture portion is a good point. To have a little bit of texture that fits better with the context of the neighborhood, I think is a good comment. And Carol's point about just pulling that wall slightly on the second floor would help. I didn't really have any other comments. All right. Next project here for the work session is 315 Marion Avenue detached garage. Comments from the board? Oh, I'm sorry. We should ask Tracy to come back in if you don't mind, Yolanda or Andrew. All right, so 315 Marion Avenue, any comments?
My only comment is just wondering if if the new lap siding is gonna match the same size as the existing lap siding of the house.
Yeah, I had the same question, and this particular garage is really highly visible from the street and it's pretty close to the street. So I wanted to discuss if there was an opportunity to maybe do a little more style elements to tie the garage together with the existing house, which is, really beautifully designed. So if they were to consider a deeper overhang and maybe hip roof to tie the two together a bit and just verify that the siding width does match the house, and then also include trim around the doors that would match the width of the house siding, just to kind of make the two go together a bit more. So we could discuss those items. And then also, I don't know if the intent is to use this garage for a vehicle. If it is, that 8-foot door might become inconvenient. So that's just another functional item.
Mhm.
I just had a comment, curious if they would be open to adding a window. A lot of siding on the garage, but we can discuss that. And then was curious if the doors that we're showing represented in the drawing are accurate for what they plan on installing.
I think I saw a note. Oh, here it is. Yeah, I circled it for myself because I had the same thought. It looks like the doors and finishes shall be selected by the owner. So maybe we could clarify if they have something particular in mind.
David, you have any comments?
No, just the siding, height or size match existing house. And I'd assume the same color, but we're colorblind.
Yeah, I think Carol's comment was a good one. Such a really nicely styled existing home. So the hip roof idea, I think, is something to consider. My only comment really was just on the window question, but also if I wasn't sure if they were putting any windows in the garage door. I didn't see any. I think that door width that you point out, Carol, I think that's a really good comment as well. So. All right. Last one on our list is 622 South Berry. Any comments from the board?
I felt like I couldn't review this one. I understand what they're trying to do, but without the context of the front elevation, it's hard to picture the scale of it against the existing home.
The proposed changes sort of leave us with a real mix of architectural styles on the front of the house. And, if they want some transparency in their front door, perhaps they could consider going to a grill style that would be more complementary and more proportional to the style of the windows to help kind of blend the two together. That was my comment.
What do you call that? A federal style house? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would hate to see that copper, I'm not sure what you call it style, the copper roof to go away off the porch, but, and I agree with the mixing the craftsman style, or this craftsman style columns with the existing federal style is. I'm not sure how you would do that differently, but
Yeah, I thought that existing metal roof is quite nice. It's kind of a shame to lose it.
Comment about the drawings, missing some of the context is good because it is really a question of how does that new roof interact with the window above, and that's a technical question as well as aesthetic. So that's a good question. For me, the pseudo colonial approach, at least with the columns, was fine. I think the comment about the losing the copper roof is a good one, but I'm not sure what they're putting back on here, so. It looks like,
Asphalt shingle.
yeah, I'm just trying to read the notes. Yeah, I'm just a little concerned about the constructability and if that elevation is accurate and where the window is, was my comment. Any additional comments?
well, I could see the need to want to spruce up the front porch because the
Mhm.
existing poster. It just looks like just plain 6x6s. So wonder if, since we do have the federal style with the, the copper roof, maybe consider like more of a fluted style column
Mhm.
that are beefier, which would definitely improve that porch. Something just more in style with the existing house. And the broken pediment's fine. I like that as well. So
Yeah,
I've been listening to your comments.
Mhm.
I don't really have any. I guess the big question is the relationship of this to the window above it.
Mhm.
Front elevations. Front elevation looks fatter than the illustration. I like the illustration.
Right, the illustration, nice illustration.
Guess it's just the prerogative of the people who own the house, if they want to change the style and. There really wouldn't be much point in trying to put a copper roof on this thing, because it's not quite the statement that little Belvedere roof was to begin with.
Mhm. Okay,
Is that a Belvedere? That's a word.
Belvedere.
That's my word. for
Okay,
it.
okay.
You
Works
made-
for me. I'm always want to learn the new, what the actual words are, so.
All right. We have, looks like about 6 or 7 minutes, so we're gonna, take a pause and we will reconvene the official meeting at 5:30. Thank you. All right, welcome everyone, to the Architecture Review Board meeting. We just finished our work session, so the official meeting is now underway. Introduce Yolanda Wilkins and Andrew Klosterman with the city. Carol Dunkey, Tracy Collins, Ken Burns, David Yates, myself, Bob Buckman, all volunteer architects sitting on the board. First item of business is approval of meeting minutes from April 6th. And with that, ask for a motion.
I have a minor clarification on 323 Chestnut Avenue. The front gable will have straight edge shingle style siding. I just wanted to clarify that that front gable has a projection and that the shingle style will wrap the edges of the projection of the gable.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? If not, I can ask Carol to make a motion on that.
I'll make a motion to approve the April 6 minutes as submitted with the clarification that on 323 Chestnut, the shingle style siding will cover the sides of the front gable projection.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right,
Aye. Meeting minutes have been approved as noted. All right, next, we're going to go through the projects. The first four are public hearing projects. And then there's a couple more after that. As we call your project name, if you're here in person, we all ask that you come up front and stand at the microphone and introduce yourself, and we'll talk about your project. And if you're online, just to raise your Zoom hand, and Yolanda will add you to the meeting, and we can discuss your project that way. First project is 32 West Cedar Avenue. Anyone here for that, online or otherwise? All right. We have
I'm
somebody.
here. Yes.
Good evening. Is this Janelle?
Yes, it is.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think we had a question, David. You wanted to ask a question specifically.
No, I'm on. Yeah, the existing French doors have a very strong vertical center meeting style. And was wondering if was suggesting that maybe you would consider casement windows that would open out very similar to the French doors, or they maybe opened in, but then have a stronger vertical mullion in the middle of the round top window as well to harken back to the existing look of the windows.
Just so for my clarification, so when you say casement windows, do you mean the keeping up the same kind of door frame? Is that what you're in, that the same? I'm not sure what you're.
Oh, yeah. Right now, do those French doors swing in?
Well, so they have been, they've been on the inside, they have been painted shut, so they don't open.
Okay.
Yeah.
A casement window is the one that opens like a door with the crank normally, or sometimes.
Oh, I see.
Or sometimes
see.
sometimes no crank.
Oh, okay.
But that could be something to be done that would then still keep that vertical strong
Okay.
center mullion, and then you could continue that same vertical mullion. It wouldn't be operating, but it'd be decorative to match that width on the round top.
Okay. Yeah, the proposed proposed shape of the window has more to do honestly with cost than it does design, in the sense of just the cost of replacing these two windows. in general. So just as a background, we were trying to figure out a way to actually have something that provided also airflow, but
Mhm.
updated because these windows are original.
Right. Well, and also just from a point of view of, I think sliders have a lesser longevity than casements. The tracks get full of stuff.
Yes,
So casements might be a better option anyway.
okay.
I have a question, Janelle.
Uh-huh.
Do your the new windows, do those fit exactly into the existing opening, or will the shape and size of the opening need to be modified?
The intent, ma'am, is that they will fit in the existing opening.
Okay.
Yes.
And will there be a space below the windows where the wall will have to be reconstructed since the windows aren't quite as long as the doors were?
There should not, that was not the intent or my intent in the design, because they were originally doors, so it goes all the way to the floor.
Okay, so your new windows are then proposed to go all the way to the floor as well?
Yes, as my understanding of it. I'm not sure whether the Anderson has that laid out that way, but that was my understanding of it.
You might want to clarify that
Okay.
because if there does need to be infill below that, it's
Uh-huh.
going to be visible on both the interior and the exterior of your house.
Okay,
So it would be something that we would need to know, because if there has to be an infill panel there, it would
Mhm.
need to somehow coordinate with the existing historic house. I mean,
okay,
if you were unsure, perhaps we could clarify this evening that we've you know, considered that the windows will match exactly the size of the opening and that they will
Okay.
go all the way to the ground. And you can follow up with Anderson. Perhaps that would be a way to handle it.
could you repeat that, ma'am?
Yeah, maybe if we, go ahead and take a vote this evening on this, perhaps we could clarify that the approval is contingent upon the windows matching exactly the
Okay.
height of the doors, so there wouldn't need to be an infill wall panel below.
Okay,
On the arched opening. Appreciate you're trying to accommodate what we're saying, but when you see the price tag on this, you may be rethinking.
well, then that will determine whether they get done or not, to be honest.
One other option might be if you had a local millwork people take those doors down, replicate them and put them back on the original hinges. It's another way to get there, which probably is gonna be less money than those tall casements with the quarter foot on them are gonna be really expensive.
So, sir, are you saying having just the glass replaced?
No, well, I'm saying you could take the door off its hinge
Uh-huh,
and a millwork place here in town could replicate that door new. I don't know what the condition of the door is, if they're just falling apart. It can't be
no, they're
solved.
just, they're not in bad shape, they're just 100 years old
Right. I get that.
in single pane.
I'm just concerned that when you see the cost from Anderson to do those, you're gonna, it's gonna be expensive.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
replicating the doors may be less money. I don't know.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I agree, Ken, that's a very good option and it may be less money. It will preserve the beautiful look of your home. And also too, you may want to consult somebody about actually restoring those doors and getting them into the condition you would like. I have a really old house too, and that window restoration sometimes is really favorable compared to replacing stuff. So that may be an option for you to look into, Janelle.
Okay. Okay,
I think that's a good point. And, those doors are 100 years old and that says something too, because your new ones aren't going to last that long. I had a similar door on my house here too. It's about the same age as yours. And I just had it, I restored it myself, but we replaced the glass with insulated glass as well. So There's other options out there. I
Okay.
do agree that, it's a really nice character with your house, but I also understand what you're trying to achieve cost wise, so something for you to consider and look into.
Okay.
So I think at this point, if there's no more comments from board members, then I think it's really kind of a question of, before I ask if there's any other comments, about our vote, any other comments from the public? I guess the question, I'm gonna go back to Janelle and just basically ask if, do you want us to vote on what we have in front of us tonight, or would you like to consider some of the alternatives before we make a vote? And
Well, I don't feel, what I heard is that the vote, if you took a vote, it would be dependent upon an exact match of the doors as they are. And so that would require me to do something different regardless. So it doesn't sound like it makes a lot of sense to go forward with a vote right now until I have a better option.
Yeah,
And I'd like you to know where you stand financially in
right.
terms of what these options are too, so you can make the most intelligent decision that serves your interest.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I refurbished some doors in my house, Janelle. And obviously labor is a big thing that I don't charge myself labor for, but
Sure.
materials and cost was maybe $200,
Okay.
Offering to do the doors.
So, so David's coming over.
Okay. Okay.
So with that, Janelle, we can just table this and give you the opportunity to look into, make sure exactly that's what you want to do first, and then maybe
Okay.
come back and, very good. With that,
Okay.
thanks for your time. We'll
Thank you.
talk
Thank
to you
you.
soon. All right, next project is 135 North Bompard Avenue, rear and side addition.
Todd Miller, Michelle's the designer.
Welcome.
Hello. She'll do a lot of the talking. So.
Oh, okay, up there. I'm sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
I think we had some comments in the pre-meeting, and I guess I could just start, or would you like to address them? I mean, we've done them both ways in the past.
I did go through your questions, so I have answers if you want to
Okay,
just get into it.
sure, let's just do that. That's efficient.
Okay. The first question you had was, how will the brick transition at the corner of the new storage room? I'm assuming that you mean where like the north side and the east side meet.
Yep. Correct.
I was just gonna basically have, a piece of molding from the siding stop there. The reason why we had the brick on the front was because we thought it would be more historically accurate. What do you guys think about that?
Typically, they, in historic preservation discussions, they call that sort of thing confusing history,
Mhm.
in that it makes the addition try to look like it was part of the original. And in order to sort of pay homage to the original house, typically the entire addition is differentiated somehow. It can, be subtle or something more bold, but trying to actually match or blend in is not really good historic preservation treatment. So in order to differentiate, okay, this is the wonderful old original house and this is the addition, I would suggest just having your siding entirely on the addition, even in the front, rather than trying to kind of do a brick veneer masquerade at
Okay.
the front there. So would you all be open to that?
I guess the answer is, yes, depending on some of the other questions about the siding. That
Yeah.
you had.
Yeah, and I was interested too in why y'all chose the vertical siding, because when you look around Webster Park, I mean, when I was driving around there, I didn't see any other vertical. It's such a departure from the rest of the neighborhood. I was interested in the thoughts behind that choice.
Yeah, so I think we went back and forth on stucco versus siding, to be honest, and brick, you know. I like brick. It's my favorite material to use. And so I prefer the vertical against the horizontal siding just because of the look against the historic home, because it's so tall, and I'm a tall person. I like tall things.
Yeah,
I get
vertical.
just the siding going horizontal for me just yeah, just didn't feel right to my style and what I felt was the homage to the structure that's there, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, that I understand. I think stucco would be a wonderful choice. Did you
We
know?
did consider that actually at first, you know, with like a we actually sort of wainscot and siding or stucco. Stucco, the only concern there was upkeep and painting. That was the main reason not to go with it. I've had stucco homes before and I know how that can be a challenge.
You can get integrally colored stucco.
I'm sorry?
You can get stucco that has the color in it, so it wouldn't require painting.
Yep, and then there's the cracking and other things. I came from Arizona, so I kind of know stucco in and out. So, but I hear you. I like stucco.
Uh-huh.
If you felt that was more appreciable to the not just the home, but the area, which I know it is,
Yeah.
I can see around.
Yeah.
We could think about that, yeah.
Yeah,
I- I-
stucco. Oh, go
Oh,
ahead.
I was gonna say, I was gonna say, because your existing home is gorgeous, and my first impression is that is built to last,
That's the
you
truth.
know? And then when I see the vertical batten, it just, it seems out of balance.
Yeah.
So the stucco would be great because your existing house says built to last, and the addition would say, yeah, I'm an addition, but I'm built to last too.
Yeah, yeah. that's a fair
And I
statement.
think that would look really nice in the neighborhood.
Yeah, and then the actual stucco product, you know, you could do traditional cement based on a lath and all that, but you could consider like a direct applied finish system or an EFIS,
Okay,
which is a commercial product, but you can, it's you know, it's engineered. It has all the crack control, the drainage barrier, all that. And you can get variable textures on it, with the swirls or the heavy texture or whatnot.
right,
And integral color as well.
right.
So just something to consider maybe.
No, it's a, yeah, I mean,
I,
we were,
yeah,
that's not really, I guess I would say that's a very reasonable way to look at this, yeah.
well, and you know, for me, looking at this material question, in some ways, it really depends on what the brick is going to do and be. If you're trying to match it, if you could possibly match the brick, introducing some of that brick as, you know, the columns or something.
Yeah.
It's kind of a nice way to, you know, tie the past to the present. But for me, even as I'm looking at this again, I'm thinking, if you know, brick's very durable, maybe in my mind, I could see maybe just the portion with the door in it, the taller mass, it's just kind of a brick mass. If the brick was going to be accurately matched up, I could almost see doing a small portion of that. And then transitioning the rest of it to the vertical siding, if that's what you like, or the stucco. Just a thought as I've been thinking through your material choices. I think to Carol's point, it's, you know, it's always, I think, nice in a historic addition to try to differentiate them. That doesn't mean, in my mind, that everything has to be differentiated. There are some transitional zones. I think your covered brick pilas, your piers, and that mass that's kind of 2 stories is potentially an area that you could consider being all brick, all 3 sides of it. and then maybe transitioning to whatever that alternate material. And the second, what Dave was saying on the stucco, from Arizona and myself, having lived and spent a lot of time in Southern California, I get where you're coming from. So, but I think the more advanced systems, you don't have that issue anymore. You can even do traditional stucco final coat over the top of systems now that are all more engineered. And so, and you put the control joints in, and then you don't have the issue of cracking.
I think Rochelle probably has a comment on that.
Yeah. Yep. Go ahead.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say, when you're bringing up the front facade, do you mean that we could have the brick on the first floor?
Well,
And then the second floor would be the stucco?
I mean, this was just I don't know if I'm misunderstanding the plan a bit too. There's a 2-story piece where the door is that existing? That's new, right?
So
looking-
the new portion would be to the right of the.
Yeah, with the rail on top, right?
Yes,
Okay, that's the only part of the exterior wall that's. See, for some reason, as I was looking at your plan, I was starting to ask myself if that 2-story piece where that new entry door is that also existing?
no.
That's new as well. So
If
I was
you're-
just, yeah,
Oh, I was gonna say, if you're looking at it from the east, from the driveway, that the door to the right is the new doorway going into the mudroom.
yeah. So my only suggestion, this was my opinion, that you could consider that entire mass, both stories of it, because it's 2 stories tall, correct?
Correct.
And then wrap the brick even around the north side.
Gotcha.
I'm not sure, and then return it to where that other door is. It would look a little more authentic in that case,
Okay,
instead of just the applied, face of brick. And then the new material could transition at the 1-story piece that has the deck on top of it. That's where you could make that material break.
got it.
Is what I was suggesting as an idea is all.
Okay.
If
Okay,
that makes sense.
I think so.
Okay.
And I just want to reiterate one thing just to clarify. I absolutely agree with Bob. You don't have to differentiate every single element on the new addition. It just, some element that clearly differentiates, but other things that tie together with the existing, like maybe using some brick or something, that would be wonderful. I think that would be great. So yes, I absolutely agree with Bob.
Okay. So the second question, we kind of answered 2 questions there with the vertical siding, but the second question I had was, you had mentioned the proposed brick columns look skinny in proportion to their height. We were trying to match the existing front porch column size. They will have a base detail like the existing columns do now, and like a concrete cap on them. So they should look just like the front of the house. Is that okay?
It looks like, you could do the matching limestone hanging on the columns, so the caps and the walls are.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
I think it's hard to do.
You,
Oh, it's on. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. I'm just saying, one way to articulate those columns would be to introduce a limestone banding around them, replicating the cap, the limestone cap you have on the front porch. But I wanted to go back to the vertical siding issue. I think overall, it's a pretty house, but it's kind of austere, and I think the vertical siding, kind of an American Gothic thing, I think they kind of get away with it. So, but I do think that if you're going to do the vertical siding, I would just do everything new that way and differentiate it from the core house. So, and the
Okay.
columns, would you even do the columns in brick if you did that? I don't know. So that's an option.
the picture showing the existing columns, it doesn't really show the existing columns that well. It's kind of cut off, so, um,
I'm guessing they're 2.5 bricks by 2.5 bricks.
it,
Columns.
and for me, it's not even the scale of them, it's the base. It's the height of them just being all brick. So
Hmm.
if, like Ken was saying, or Carol, there's been a few comments made about them. There's different ways to, I think, help articulate those. It looks like there's a little bit of a stone piece, but they do widen out the front porch. It looks like it's wider at the base anyway, so,
It is.
yeah.
Yes, yeah, so maybe, you know, as was suggested, you know, you have that limestone water table bit that you have on both sides of the front porch. You can maybe introduce that to the, when you look at the front
Mm.
of the column. And then you can go from, I think right now, my eyes are failing me. The skinniest bit of column is 3 courses wide, and it goes to, looks like 3.5 courses. And that could visually, from the street, you know, fatten them up. And then, you know, just like the porch columns are right now, from the side elevations, they are only 2 courses wide.
Yep.
Like you'd have.
Yep.
They still are very slender because, so wondering if maybe you could look at doing like a rubble band that matches the rubble water table course of the side of the house, maybe to then make the brick shorter.
Mhm.
That's at the base, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
can-
we do plan on doing that. We do.
Oh, yeah, I think I agree with, that's a good move.
Okay.
You got 3 columns there, you could probably get rid of one of them.
I like
You-
columns, but.
Yeah.
I hear ya.
I like the colonnade too. It looks cool.
The Mason likes them too,
Yeah, they do, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
but,
Oh, everybody's happy, right?
So can I just clarify, I think are you recommending strongly for stucco and stay away from the siding? Is that?
I'm not.
I'm not either. I think I agree with Ken. I think vertical siding, if it's done the right way, I think it's a question. You know, the American Gothic idea. But I think the stucco would be fine too.
Yeah, I think the only issue is having the brick and the siding meet at a corner versus
Right.
just saying do it all siding, you know, vertical siding.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna do some brick, I think how those materials intersect is important.
Okay.
The whole idea of just the false front of brick, I think is not the best idea.
Okay, okay.
If
So
that
you-
makes-
You're not against brick, it's just having that false front look, is that?
Yeah, I mean, I personally think the stucco is a better neighborhood fit, and I think it's a more consistent statement with your house. But if y'all were to decide on the vertical and just have the whole addition be the vertical siding, you know, I would not say no to that.
Okay.
I mean, I just, you know,
Okay.
did
No, thank
I,
you. That's-
did I make myself clear enough?
You
Okay,
did. you
Yeah,
did.
okay,
Yeah, I'm just
okay.
clarifying for my own brain.
No,
Yeah,
that's
good.
fine. I just wasn't sure I was communicating well.
Got it. Yep.
I mean, really like board and batten look, you know, it has some texture to us. I mean, that's what I'm seeing when I look at it. That has a little texture to it, depth. There's probably a way to do vertical siding that's not that. So I think you'd want to be very specific about what it is you're gonna do. Cause I think personally for me, that's the American Gothic that Ken was referring to.
Yeah.
That fits in a way for me. But I wouldn't, either way you guys want to go.
I would suggest if you do make the front elevation of that addition, the vertical siding, that you would consider changing the window style to match what's on the side of the house versus what's on the main facade.
Oh.
You know, so this window here would be to match the side windows.
Yeah.
You know, it's all the same system.
Okay.
All right. We have a couple, oh, yeah, go ahead, Rochelle.
Oh, do you want me to keep going through the questions?
Yeah, you have the list.
Okay. The sidewall of the storage room could use a window to help break up the siding or consider moving a double door to the center of the wall. And the double doors will be centered.
Okay.
I think our architect just didn't get that far. So we will do that. You have a question, will there be trim at the windows? So again, I had placed the windows and kind of mimic the front of the house with the size of the windows. And so, and I'm referring to the front of the house, the front of that storage area. So if we go the route with the vertical siding, we will put trim on the windows. But if you look at the front of the house with the brick, it looks like the windows are kind of set into the brick. There isn't like a trim around the exterior of them,
Right.
like around the perimeter. So I'm saying if there's vertical siding, yes, there would be casing, and like an exterior trim. And then if it were to be the brick or the stucco, there wouldn't. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yep, we agree.
Okay.
That makes sense.
And then it says, what is the material of the guardrail on the roof? It's black aluminum. And the type of the railing is the Westbury Tuscany style, and it's a matte black finish.
Okay.
You have a question here. It says enclose the area below the new rear porches. I wasn't sure what you meant by that.
That's just the area from the underside of the framing down to the ground, just to
Okay.
provide a little more finished look, because it's would look better with the house overall because you have such a substantial front porch. I think that
Okay.
just helps balance it out and look more finished.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the next question was the siding selection, and we've kind of talked a little bit about that, so I'll skip that one. And then the final question you had was on the north elevation, you said consider transoms to align with the window heads on either side, perhaps another window or band board to tie all three sides together. And I listened to you guys kind of talk about this earlier, so I wasn't sure really where you landed. Is it because the height of the door is taller than the existing windows on the existing house?
So Rochelle, that was my question. When I kept looking at it, it looked like the head height of those doors doesn't align with the head height on either end, right, of the windows. Is that correct? That door is lower, right?
I honestly don't know.
I believe they are.
I mean, it looks significantly low. So I was just trying to imagine the space from the inside as well as the outside when I was asking the question.
So those windows that are on the existing house right now, I'm gonna say they're lower. One is in a bathroom, an existing bathroom, and another one is in a staircase.
Yeah.
So they're not, the windows aren't that big. So, and then the door going out to the new deck or porch is a standard height.
Yeah, it's specifically, it's the one on the ground floor that I was asking about on the north side. That's
Oh.
a new pair of doors. And so I was talking about the head height of that door. And it was just a question of,
Well, that makes more sense to me.
okay,
Yes, maybe the storage, like the finished elevation of the storage is not equal to the finished floor of the house.
It's-
It's set down.
It's set down.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it slopes pretty hard from.
So that's
back
probably
to
why
front
we're
of the
seeing
lot.
that. Yeah.
In fact,
Yeah.
even the mudroom door, you had to step down,
yeah.
come out, and then you see the bottom of the side door.
Yeah, I mean, for me, that wasn't anything other than, what do you guys think? I don't know. Probably would think that one through myself if it were me, but if you're good with it, it's not a big deal. I was just pointing it out because in my mind, it caught me as a question mark. You got glass doors with a lower head height and in the same room, you got higher windows. That's fine. That works. No big deal. Just asking.
Gotcha.
I'm gonna give us
Um,
a pass on that one.
yeah, no, I mean, I don't think
Good pass.
it's not even a pass. It's just a question that, you know, if you guys considered it really is all I was doing. So, and you guys are good with what you got. So I was just basically saying that's fine too.
Okay,
I just didn't want something to be missed. Okay, so that's, I think we've been through the list. I think there's other additional things on our list, David.
Well, just back to the columns on the portico again. I'm seeing on the elevations, they're showing as being 2 courses wide, 14 inch or 16 inches. But then looking at the plan, they're only showing as a foot wide,
Okay.
which is a course and a half. So, or yeah, but no,
Yeah.
yeah, right.
Course and a half.
Yeah. So anyway, just I think maybe just clarify the size of the columns because they're even skinnier in plan than they show on the elevation. So they're even more pronounced as skinny.
so we're gonna clarify the columns.
Yep.
Okay,
And then I think, you know, the idea about the material, hopefully you're clear, you know, it sounds like, there's some options there if you guys want to use some brick or not. It's really something for you guys to look at and think through, I think. But in a way that returns the corner on that one mass or maybe just on the columns, I think is kind of what we were suggesting. Not that there's not another option out there.
I mean, for me, I mean, I really thank you guys for working with us through all of this. You know, you may have some choices to be made as far as your materials and what elements you use to tie the two together. And I would be very helpful if you decide to go with the vertical siding to actually see your trim drawn on there and how it looks with the existing house. So for me, if you guys want to have a conference with your designer and give it some thought and then bring your decisions back, that way we can just have a real clear picture of what everybody's agreeing to. I think that would be really helpful.
Sure.
One last thought on the columns. If you're gonna go full frame on the addition, you could consider just doing a brick base and doing a wood column above it. So, you know, and I don't think you need 3 of them either, so
I'm sorry, what?
I don't think you need 3 columns there,
Point taken, understood.
but that's your call, not mine.
The 3 columns help create an exterior room, I think. It almost gives it that more enclosure, so.
Is that good or bad?
I mean, I like it myself. I'm with you on the 3 columns. I'm a column guy.
And the Mason likes it.
And the mason, to
Well,
Ken's
yeah.
point.
And also maybe even not even do a brick base, but do a stone base that matches that water table.
Well,
and-
that's true.
And then go wood.
Yeah.
I mean, that would work too.
Understood.
All right, so I guess we're not gonna.
Yeah, so I think at this point, we would suggest that we table this project with the list of, I think we're pretty clear. You know, hopefully there's no questions on your end about our comments. If you do have any, just let us know, you know, now we'll clarify them. But if not, we'll just probably just table the project. And once you're finished making some of the decisions, clarifying a few things, then you would just resubmit the drawings. And there is typically a time frame for the next one, and I don't know what kind of, some folks are in a real hurry, so there's a window.
Well, is it the same window that we had, like the 2-week ahead of time as this meeting had, or is it a different window?
I think might be slightly different, Yolanda or Miranda.
It seems like,
I mean, I'd love to get back
It
in
used
front of
to
you in 2
be-
weeks. I don't.
yeah.
Yeah, that was my
Okay.
point, just to clarify.
Okay. Right, okay,
Right, exactly.
perfect. That's good. And
Okay.
We'll turn these ideas around fast. Rochelle's great. at doing
Well,
this.
okay. And
Yeah.
that being said, we're not rushing you. You can take more time if you.
I'm
would
rushing
like.
me.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. I just wanted to make sure
We-
you
we
weren't
get-
feeling pressured by us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I understand.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, great.
you.
Well,
Appreciate your time.
You
and
bet.
ideas, too.
thanks. Have a nice
thank
evening.
you.
You're welcome. All right, next on our list, we have 424 Park Road. It's a rear deck. Anyone here for 424?
Hi, I'm Michael Lynch with Midwest Modern Renovations.
Welcome, Michael.
Thank you.
I think there was one question. Or no, I think Ken had a comment.
And this is a building department thing, not our business, but I think you had your steps for 2 down from the house to the deck and then 4 down to the ground. I
Correct.
think that 4 down to the ground is going to trigger the need for a handrail.
It will, and we're
Okay,
going
you're
to
good with that.
work
That's fine.
on some modifications.
Okay,
So I'm doing this as part of a project with the hardscaper. Who's
Okay.
doing a nice paper patio. And until things get removed and he starts laying, we don't know the
Okay,
exact
that's
measurements
fine.
yet, but the idea was to really give him kind of a modern, just more than steps to get down to the patio. We were gonna give him like a
Sure.
nice platform. We're
Okay.
trying to eliminate any kind of railings and things like that to just
Yeah.
make it all flow really
Okay.
nicely. So,
Mhm.
um,
Nice.
you answered my question.
all right, thank you.
Okay. I don't think we had any other comments, but this is a public hearing. So with that, is there anyone else present in the room or online that wants to make a comment about 424 Park Road? And seeing no hands, I'm going to ask for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve 424 Park Road as submitted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, you are approved.
Thank you, guys.
You Bet. Have a good evening. Next, we're going to ask for Next, we're gonna ask for Tracy to step out since the next project is hers. And as soon as she does. Next project is 28 Elm Place. Is there anyone present for this one?
John.
Yeah. This is John and Ann Piazza. We're present virtually.
Welcome, John and Ann. We had some questions at the start and I'll let, who wants to start on the board? Carol?
That's fine. Yeah, I'll start. Are y'all planning on replacing your existing front porch handrail? It looks like it's drawn a little differently on the elevations than showed in the photographs.
No, ma'am. The intent is to stick with the original handrail at this time.
Okay, that's fine. And then on the new front porch on your new addition, what is the style and material of that railing?
Well, I don't think we had the detail, but when we spoke with the architect, we would go with a wood railing.
And then your existing front porch is enclosed from the area below the framing down to the grade. Were you intending to do that on the new addition porch as well?
We would with like a lattice, basically
Okay.
closed in with a lattice underneath.
Okay, so yeah, it can be enclosed with whatever material that you and your architect feel like would be compatible with the new design. But just in order to tie your new and existing additions together, I think it would be nice for it to be enclosed. And then did you all talk about what texture you propose for the stucco?
I'll
Is it
let
going to be like an
Might
ultra
jump in here.
smooth or is it going to be more rough?
I think, I mean, we're fine with the rough texture. And we would like you all to approve the possibility of options between the siding especially if the stucco was a concern. If you want to give us the option between stucco and the horizontal
Lap siding or cedar shake. We thought we would have our bids back from contractors prior to this meeting. In the course of getting all of our bids, we've been told that, the stucco is the most expensive option. It's the preferred option by us, but if it's possible to get approval to have stucco as drawn, cedar shake, I assume is a kind of a given, I guess, or a lap siding. I mean, the intent, and you brought it up in other meetings, the intent was to have the addition stand out as different, right? We weren't trying to have it look like one house. We wanted it to be fairly obvious that it was an addition. And that's why we thought stucco gave us the best look. There's other stucco, featured homes in that area. So we thought, okay, we could do that. We just don't have our price back yet, but that's the way it's drawn up and that's the intention at this point.
And I'm fine with the texture being a coarser texture to match, if that's more appropriate for the block.
Yeah, I agree that it is, and I'm very glad to hear that you're open to the idea of siding. Because I love that area, driving down that little cul-de-sac. I love to like go for walks and everything in there. And it's a beautiful little area. And all of the homes in that area, they have a very textured surface materials on the exterior. And they're all frame. So for me, the stucco just isn't really a good neighborhood fit. If you decided that you wanted to do the stucco, I mean, the rougher texture would help it fit in a little bit better. But in order to differentiate the new house and the addition, I think going to, a slightly different siding material, as far as like maybe horizontal siding that's a similar width to your shakes, to just kind of nicely, smoothly blend them together. I think that would be great. And I think it would be a nice neighborhood fit. Really, I'm glad to hear that you're considering siding. Let's see if I had any other questions. Oh, yeah. And then on the back of your house, up at the second floor, the new addition and the existing rear wall align exactly. And if you were to use stucco there, or really any material other than shingle there, that where those two come together has a potentially awkward appearance. So if you could just make your addition just a little bit shallower, so that existing rear corner of the house shows at the second floor, it'll give you a much nicer transition. And it kind of helps differentiate, okay, here's the geometry of the original house, and then here's the geometry of the addition. I think that would really enhance the appearance of the back of the house.
Okay, and we saw that comment and certainly appreciate it. One of the problem that would present is that it would encroach in the kitchen, the walkway, because the house is opened up between the kitchen and the family room at the first level. And that encroachment probably would force us to make changes in the kitchen and the island. How do you think it would look or work if instead of that we had, the trim board that's, there's going to be a vertical, I don't know what you call it, but corner trim board that's going to go all the way up the side of the house? Would that be enough of a differentiator, between the old and the new, if they were still aligned? So that trim board breaks it up.
I
Does that make
think that
sense?
might help ease it a bit, but I don't know that it would be, I'm not sure you're really going to like how that appears. Maybe there's a possibility, I mean, I haven't studied on it yet, but maybe there's a possibility that you could even kind of go the opposite way, and at the back, make your addition a smidge deeper. That way you wouldn't be pinching in your kitchen, and you
Right.
could still have a cleaner material transition at the rear. So that's something to consider as
Okay.
well.
And I think that would be, that would work, from a flow and interior use of the space.
So is-
Yeah, that way you wouldn't. Yeah, I was sort of feeling it for you there as I was looking at your kitchen. I was like, oh, well, maybe a couple inches, 3 inches out of the island, maybe. I mean, so I understand, because,
so is
yeah, kind of looked at that pretty carefully myself. So perhaps you could consider even just making your addition a little bit deeper to have a cleaner transition of materials on the rear. That for
On the
me would be
backside.
fine.
Yeah, and actually I have a third option that might work as well. Leaving the first floor wall in plane with the pantry door wall, and then have a projection cantilever the second story out a foot or so,
Ooh,
which has a precedent.
Mhm.
And then that would
Okay.
that would navigate both worlds pretty well.
Okay. Do we need to clarify at this meeting which one we choose, or could we just, as long as we do one of the offsets, work it out with our architect? Is that acceptable?
Well, perhaps you could see how your numbers are coming in and make some choices and then review between yourselves and with your architect, what we've discussed here this evening and make some choices and come back to us with what your decisions are. That would be a real good way to go. That way we could all be clear on what we were agreeing on, and you might not be spared a return trip if your numbers don't come in the way you would like.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming, I don't know the schedule, but I'm assuming if you meet every 2 weeks, the submittal was probably today for the next review, which means, okay, we'll push it a month out, and I mean, nothing's worked on schedule so far, but of course it's
Is there a way to do that and fit in the next review board? But part of our concern is if we're afraid we might lose contractors that may commit to other projects.
Yeah.
So,
it gets a bit worrisome here.
Is there a way for us to still get in the next review board if we make adjustments quickly?
I think maybe y'all
Yeah, that, I
correct
mean,
me on
that
this
goes,
if you want to call Mara.
right. I think it's a question for Mara typically, but what, I think with projects that we've had in-depth conversations with, and there's a quick turnaround, there's a small window there. She's
Okay.
usually been really good about getting them on the next round. That way, you don't have to wait extra.
We'll give that a shot then. Okay.
I mean, I just think to Carol's point, there's enough little tweaks that it might be better to just have it all wrapped up before we voted on it.
Yeah, I think so. And that way too, y'all can, don't have to feel pressured to make these decisions tonight. You can get some number feedback and think about it for a little bit and then get your choices down on paper. So I think that would be a good way to go.
And just so we know, if we chose a horizontal lap or a cedar, are both of those in your minds equally acceptable, or is there I wouldn't do cedar, or the original structure has cedar obviously on it, cedar shake.
Yeah, I
And
think if you went cedar shake, then the whole conversation we had with the alignment of that back wall would go away.
Right.
Because it'd just be the same.
Right.
You'd still have a transition detail to work through if you did go with lap siding.
This may not be a perfect solution, but what if you just did that one elevation in plane with the house in cedar
Mm-hmm.
and just had options on the
Yeah.
other two?
Yeah,
It's impure, I know, but.
I think that would, what I'm picturing, that would be a bit unsightly to have that one rear in cedar and then the rest something else.
Yeah.
And that area, people are really close together, and the neighbors to the rear and to the rear sides have a real clear view of that. So I don't know that would be the way to go. I think that Dave's point is good, that the alignment issue goes away if you stick with all the shingle siding. But in my mind, either the shingle siding or the shake would be fine, because your geometry and your window styles help differentiate your addition from the original. So either one of those would be fine.
Okay, so you say if we're agreeable to so I guess.
A question I have then is if we just look for approval now, just based on cedar, then
Right.
all of this goes away. We just
There
say,
you go.
okay, approve the drawing as, well, assuming there's no other issues, and there were one or two other
the-
questions, but that.
There's
issue-
another, right. I think that's right. If you change it to a cedar shake, and that's the material on the entire edition, then I think we could review it, and approve it. The other, I think there was a question about the exposed foundations. What's your plan for that?
We would match basically what's on the existing structure, which is a stucco. It's a painted stucco. I'm not sure we continue with that color. It's a dark brown, I think, but it would be just a
Right.
painted stucco.
Okay,
For the foundation. And there was a question, I didn't hear it in the working session, but there was a question around the roof. The intent was for that roof on the addition to be a metal roof, kind of a flat tannish, grayish
Grayish
color that you see around town. It seems to be pretty popular. That was the idea. The original structure is asphalt shingle.
It's
Once
not-
it, yeah,
The asphalt is not very visible, but from the road, but I thought maybe not trying to match it exactly, trying to differentiate a little bit. I thought maybe was better fit.
So
we
yeah, I
know
guess
that-
we need comments on that because it is intended, I don't remember the drawing so well, but it's intended to demonstrate a metal roof.
Right, so
Yeah,
knowing,
Okay,
the drawings right now are showing on that front elevation as a shingle type roof.
Okay, then that is well, that's, I won't know if it's a mistake against our intentions. It was intended to be a metal roof and we just didn't catch it.
Well, now if you go back, if you do decide to go the shake, would it then be more appropriate to match what's on the other portions of the house that have shake?
yeah, I agree. Had no idea that this was intended to be a metal roof because I would have comments on that. And that's kind of a major item.
Yeah, and we
So-
just missed it, I guess. I mean, it's been our discussion, but
so your feeling would be that it needs to be asphalt.
If you were going with the
Shake.
shingle,
yeah.
I think that you would need to go with the asphalt. And also if there was intended to be a metal roof on here, I would like to see the configuration of the roof and the spacing and everything else. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to pressure you guys to make decisions here tonight. If you want to kind of consider your options.
Well, and I'm gonna add another question for you that wasn't in the work session. Did you guys consider putting a roof over the family room, double door French doors?
I guess not at this time.
no, I
I
mean,
guess the project is kind of grown.
Yeah,
Not at this time. We
I
had,
got you. I meant to ask that because I think I just forgot to ask.
Yeah.
Okay, so to me, I think if it's shake and it's shingle on the roof, if it's shake siding and shingle on the roof, we can vote on it. If it's anything else,
we have to come back.
we'd want you to come back.
Yes, ma'am.
okay,
Yes, ma'am.
okay, let's.
Then we would like to go ahead with a vote amended at, I don't know if that's an amendment because I guess it shows shingle, but amend it on the stucco to cedar shake.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
All right, I think that's it with questions. This is a public hearing. So is there anyone else present in person or online that wants to make a comment about 28 Elm Place? And seeing no one, I'm gonna ask for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve 28 Elm Place with the following understandings. The exterior material on the new addition will be cedar shake siding to match the existing. The roof material will be asphalt shingle to match the existing. The existing front porch handrail will remain. The proposed rail style on the new front porch will be a wood railing. And the foundation texture will match the existing house.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, John, and you're approved
Appreciate
as discussed. Have a good evening.
Thanks all.
Thank you. All right, next on the list, we have,
Yeah, Tracy.
oh yeah, Tracy. Next on the list, we have 315 Marion Avenue detached garage. Come on up and introduce yourself. Thank you.
My name is Jim Zavis. I'm the architect. Ari and Teresa, they are my clients. They're online.
Okay, great. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
Did you guys hear some of the comments at the beginning? And I'll just start with the architectural style of the house and the roof. Was that something you considered? And siding, profile and trim and all that?
The intent is to match the existing residence with the siding and the roof.
So you would be going with a hip roof then with a deeper overhang, or are you just referring to
So
the,
we're talking about materials right now.
okay.
Yeah,
okay,
just material.
to you.
Yeah.
Okay,
Materials.
okay. And then did you have, what were your thoughts on the configuration of the roof being more closely related to the house?
I have not discussed that with my clients, so
Okay,
can't address that.
okay. Ari and Teresa, did you
sorry.
have? I was gonna just ask you what your thoughts were on that.
Yeah, and sorry if we're a little choppy. Our internet is kind of bad, so we're on the phone for the sound. I think we were kind of interested in the angled roof as is, just because it gives you a little more space. But if we needed a hip roof to match, I think we're open to it. We kind of talked about different options before, so it wasn't our first choice. But if it makes more sense, I mean, we could definitely think about it.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, your house is really lovely and your garage is quite visible from the street. So it would just, I think it would be more pleasing to you long-term to have a hip roof similar to your house, a little bit deeper overhangs to match your house because you have such, a nice generous roof there. And then also just to do little things like match the trim size on your garage doors to the trim size of the house and make the siding and corner trim match the house. I think that would go a long way to blending the two together. And then also another question, were you planning on using this for a vehicle or is it just more like storage?
Yeah, we were hoping to have one car in the garage and then definitely storage on the walls. But yeah, it would be for vehicle use.
Okay, unless you have a pretty small car, that 8-foot door is liable to turn into a bit of a nemesis, especially if you have a bigger vehicle. You don't want to have to be pulling your windows in or your rear view mirrors in to pull into the garage. So you might want to consider going to a wider door just to make your life a little bit easier. And then I think some of the other members had questions and comments as well.
On your
I did
garage
discuss the
door.
doors with my client and they're open to going to a 10-foot door.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yes. I think you'll be so much happier.
I've got 8-foot garage doors and
It's
going to
not-
9-foot doors, the difference between indoor and outdoor plumbing. So
Right.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I think we had sort of agreed that sounded good to us. So, yeah.
Yeah, to me, you have, as Carol said, such a nice house. So if you wanted to, I think it would be a very attractive roof to do a hip roof with the wide overhangs. I don't think it's a requirement in my mind, though. It's something I'd do if it were my garage, for sure.
I might propose a compromise, doing a hip on the front and a gable on the back. Because back's not visible except from the immediate neighbors.
are you trying to get like storage?
That
up there?
might be nice.
Right.
Yeah, I think the back parts of the garage are pretty hard to see, but yeah, if we could kind of make the front visually nice, but have some of that additional storage in the rafters on the back, if that's, I don't really know what that looks like, but that sounds nice.
Could you do a hip and just raise the height of it?
We run into issues with daylight into the existing residence. We're trying to keep it
Oh, I see.
low. It's kind of like
What
the
else?
issue you have here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you get a variance to go 3 feet off the property line or?
Well, the houses or the garage will be 5 feet off the property line.
That's it, I was just curious.
Yeah.
This is
Okay.
a detached garage. We're allowed to go 5 feet. If it were attached, it'd have to be 6 feet.
Didn't say- Oh, that's 3 inches, okay. Yeah, 5 feet and then 3 inches.
Right.
That's 3 feet.
And also there was a question about, did you guys consider glass lights in the door or additional windows on the garage?
We did not discuss the garage door in great detail, but my assumption was there would be glass in the overhead door. The passage door, the man door would not have any glazing for security. For the same reasons we kind of eliminated windows on the southwest and north sides. South side is 5 feet away from a privacy fence. There is no view. All it would do is offer light and provide or create a security issue. The north side is 10 feet away from the residence. The only view is of basically the band board and the siding on the house. And then from the house, you look into the garage and see the car and security. So we didn't want to do anything on the north side. The west side is the one where there is some potential for additional light, but again, reduces storage and creates a security issue. So our preference is just to do the glazing on the overhead door itself.
You just want to keep the door
Mhm.
the way you submitted and have us approve it that way.
Right.
Okay.
Well, with the clarification. that
I'm
the
sorry, we
glass-
can't hear right now. Would you? Oh, sorry. We agree with Jim, but could you repeat the last comment from the board?
I think all we were saying was, we understand you have no desire to have additional windows, but there will be glass lights in the overhead door.
The garage door.
The garage door will have glass lights. at
Sorry,
the top.
yeah.
There'll be
Yeah,
windows.
yeah, that makes sense.
And then it's gonna be not 8 foot wide, but 9 or 10 feet wide.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Yes.
think Jim had said 10 made sense, so we're comfortable with that.
Yeah, anywhere in that range. Okay, and for me personally, I don't think the roof thing is I'm not gonna vote against it if it remains a gable. I just think it would be really a nice thing if it were hip, but I'm not gonna be opposed to the gable myself. I think you either gable it all or you just leave it the way it is. I wouldn't do a gable in,
I'm with you on that.
yeah, I would just leave it the way you got it.
Yeah, or we can give them an option.
To do the whole thing out of a hip.
Yeah, to either
Do
do
complete hip or do
consistent hip
gable.
Right,
or
one or the
complete
other.
Gable, yeah. And then what about the deeper overhang? Are y'all okay with that? It doesn't have to necessarily match the house, but I just think a little bit deeper than what you have would be nice.
My clients, I have no problem
Okay.
with recommending 16-inch overhang versus. an inch.
I think we're comfortable with that. We
Okay.
haven't run that by the contractor, but I'm assuming as long as there aren't any issues there, I think it kind of makes sense for it to visually match the house more. So yeah, I think maybe the all around hip with a slightly deeper overhang, maybe more proportional to the garage size rather than, I know the house is just a very deep overhang. But yeah, I think we're okay with that.
Yeah, and y'all are okay with matching the siding width and the trim width to your house?
Yes. That was.
Yeah, we would definitely want that to match the house.
Okay, okay.
All right. Sounds good. Well, I think with that, we can have a motion. I'm gonna ask Carol again.
Okay,
You asked. for
yeah,
it.
you're voluntold. Okay, here we go. So I'll make a motion to approve 315 Marion Avenue with the following understandings. The siding width will match the existing house. The trim width on the new garage will match the existing house. The new garage overhang will be 16 inches deep. There will be glass in the overhead door. The overhead door will be 9 to 10 feet wide, and the owners have the option, if they so choose, to change the roof configuration to a hip roof at the front and rear. Did that get everything?
I think so.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye, opposed. All right. You guys are approved as noted.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good evening.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank
You
you.
too. Thank you.
Night. All right, 622 South Berry Road, front porch. Good evening,
Name's Dan Kruger, homeowners.
welcome.
Thank you. I'll try to answer as many questions as I can.
Ken, did you have any questions?
No, I don't.
Okay. David?
Yeah, I just, to the points that we talked about during the working session, just some of us had concerns about the mixing of the styles of the different pieces and parts of this new porch. It's a federal style house. It has the nice Belvedere roof, as Ken had said it was, the copper.
Which is my word.
That's your word.
We're not sure that's what it's called.
Right. And we think it'd be a shame to lose that copper, because I mean, it's a really nice old, it's patinaed, very nice. So wondering if, the porch definitely does need or could use a.
Yeah. So we took the house over about 3 years ago and did the inside, the outside porch. We put the pedestals in there because it was falling off of the porch. But the whole footing, everything's getting cracked right now.
Okay. Yeah.
Kind of pulling away the copper. It's leaking. It's not in good condition.
it is.
So we were
Okay,
trying to figure out, and we're driving around the neighborhood looking at different styles that are similar to us. Our neighbors have a pretty similar style house. So they had the gable porch coming off of it. Our window right above that's bathroom. So I know it's full size window compared to some of the others. So I heard your concern about height variance in that.
Yeah, well, and definitely if the roof is failing right now, I think
Yeah.
there's a reason to change it up and trying to do that style of roof again, a new copper is just probably going to be cost prohibitive. But just wondering if the selection of the columns might be considered a change from a Craftsman to more of a fluted federal style or something.
Okay.
Because you have that broken pediment at the top, which is very indicative. So I think bringing it all together with just the pieces and parts would be recommended.
Okay.
Yeah, so those are my comments.
Yeah, appreciate it.
So the question of where that new roof comes in alignment with the window above it, I think is something you heard before. So that's one of the things that's missing in the drawings.
Okay.
I think we typically like to see an elevation of the front of the house with the new work on it in proportion, in scale. Not only for aesthetics, but sometimes we might spot something for a homeowner that they might not be aware of. One of the things that I've run across numerous times in my career is you get too close to that window and it's not flashed right. And trust me, there are a lot of people that don't know how to flash things correctly. You as the homeowner end up with a problem down the road. And so for us, that's why we're asking for that piece. It's just kind of important for the overall, because you got this nice little sketch, but then you got a elevation that's not quite proportionate to.
Understandable. Yeah.
So we want to make sure that's in alignment. I think the adjustment of the column style, as David suggested, is really a good one, because I didn't even see the stencils up there until you said that. I was like, oh yeah, that's a good point. But that really does help tie those together, and that's a simple thing. Really, basically, the mass you're trying to build is the same. It's just got a little more detail.
Yeah.
Yeah, because those existing columns are pretty spindly, 6x6s.
Yeah.
So that would tie the porches together. But I think that question of that roof, in my mind, really can't be answered until I see it in proportion to the windows. Because the first sketch looks awesome to me. I'm like, that's awesome. But then sometimes it might flatten out, or it might be, I don't know. I think that's why you have to draw it.
Okay.
If that makes sense. And give yourself room to properly flash it. This is where I'm going back to, don't want to cause problems for yourselves down the road, right?
Yeah, like do true step flashing into the brick joints.
Let into the brick joints. Don't let somebody caulk it in, because you'll be up there all the time fixing it, and then down the road Do it once and be done.
Okay.
And you can, if
If
it's too
you,
close, you'll get snow and ice build up into your window and that will be unpleasant.
I appreciate
And
that.
I had one more comment that I didn't talk about at the work session. I was looking at how the beadboard soffit, which is really cool. I like the idea of that oval shaped beadboard or half round. How that transitions into the fascia of the pediment.
Okay.
You know, how that trim works will be aesthetically important.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
if you do run into height problems with the sill of that window, another option would be to go to more like a flat roof design with a more hefty cornice, and you could actually raise the roof
Mm.
of the porch so it kind of stood out and was taller than those flanking windows. So
Okay.
That'd be nice.
That could be nice. And then you could still do beadboard wood. So you can get that nice warm wood feeling at your front porch, but you know, stylistically, it would work great with the house.
Okay.
Yeah, have a nice
Mhm.
frieze
Frieze.
with matching dentals that
Matches the frieze on the house
Yeah.
at the top. Something to consider.
all get creative here.
Hey,
Hey, I appreciate
there's
it.
some
No,
options.
no, I appreciate it. You know,
Well, I mean, and
it's
honestly,
been the eyesore of our house and we're,
yeah. And whether you
trying
do
to
the
pair it to
pilasters
something,
or not
yeah.
is a question too. I think that's always, because you've got those applied pilasters currently on this sketch. There's more than one way to do that,
okay.
you know?
I had a comment too, just about your front door style. And, you know, right now it's kind of more of that farmhouse style that's really popular these days. But you have such a colonial house that I think if you were to do the grill pattern in your door and in your side lights with basically like the squares that are more in proportion to your windows, I think that would be a nice blend.
Okay.
It would look
Still keeping it solid though? Is that what you're saying or?
so this is intended to be glass here, is that
No, it is
correct?
not.
That's not glass. Those
It's
are,
a solid wood door right now.
okay, so to me, this reads as solid down here with glass up
Okay.
here. Is that what y'all
It's all
intend?
solid.
Okay,
This is
does
what
it,
we're intending.
are these panels up here?
They're trimmed out panels.
Okay, so they're trimmed out and there's like a recessed panel down here and then flat trimmed out panels up here. Do y'all have a picture of this, the door? I think that would be helpful. If,
It's like these doors.
Mhm.
the door's staying, isn't it?
I mean, it's kind of.
Oh, is the door staying?
Oh.
Says replace door.
okay,
Oh, I
Oh,
see.
yeah.
Look is, and we have all the traffic from Barry with trains, so we're trying not to have. just
Too much
the
glass.
eyesight.
Yeah, yeah, I was thinking, well, anyway, you know, everybody zooms right by there all the time. I was like, oh, yeah, well, they might want light, but that faces west. And so I agree with why you would want a solid door. If when you kind of refine things, your drawings, if you could represent the door and the side lights that you've chosen on the drawing, that'll be real helpful. Okay.
Yeah. I
Which
mean,
house are you from, like counting houses from Lockwood?
So there's one house that has a huge white columns. We're directly to the left there, right across from Westboro.
Where the gate of Westboro is?
Where the what?
The gate to Westboro is, you're right there?
Just north of there.
Just north of there, okay. Are you next door to the regs? Okay, I know it. Okay, thought I recognized it.
Yeah. I think we've went through our comments. Our suggestion would be just,
Rendering and
get the scaled elevation is the most important.
Okay.
And what your final design is gonna be drawn accurately to scale.
Okay.
If you guys wanna modify it as we suggested, I think you have some options. And then just think about that style of the
Okay.
column. And then when you get your revised drawings back, tomorrow, we'll, we'll,
reconvene and.
yeah, it
Okay.
should be. I mean, that's what we usually find is that if it's a good conversation and it makes sense to you.
Yeah.
Then the next round is just, pretty simple.
Okay.
So
I appreciate feedback. Thank you.
Thank you.
absolutely,
you.
you're welcome. You guys have a good evening. With that, I will say the meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.